We're honored to have Dietra Trent here, the Secretary of Education for the Commonwealth of the State of Virginia. And I'm Sharon Wolf, Assistant Professor of Education at the University of Pennsylvania, here with the CPRE Knowledge Hub. So thank you for being here with us.
Thank you.
And you could start off by just telling us a little bit about your day-to-day responsibilities working with the governor.
Wow. So day-to-day, I, just like most governor's offices, you're putting out fires, but you're also really working to achieve his policy agenda for education. So whether it's early childhood education or community colleges or pre-K through 12 or higher education, and even to some extent a large workforce piece of it is in it. So just making sure that we are doing all that we can to ensure that his education agenda is being achieved. So for instance, this year or last year, we decided that we wanted to redesign our high schools. And so that took a lot of our time for the last 2 years, just looking at how do we make high schools more relevant to 21st century economy. All of these high schools were built in the industrial era, and they're based on seat time, where the jobs are really based on, you being out there, students out there trying to solve problems and having hands-on experience. And so the last couple of years are a large part of our focus, besides ESSA, and redoing our accreditation system, has been to make sure that we got that piece right, to redesign the high school and creating a profile of a Virginia graduate. What kind of skills do we want every Virginia graduate to have? And so that's been a huge part of it. And in higher education, a large part of what we've been trying to do is make sure that we push access and completion. We have really great schools in Virginia. Some of them are some of the best in the country, and they have great completion rates, but they don't do so well in terms of providing access to some of our more underrepresented populations, particularly individuals who are in the southwest side of the state, which has a very low college attainment. So just trying to make sure that we encourage our universities to do more in that regard. And we decided that we really wanted to focus on the achievement gap and closing the achievement gap or the attainment gap across the educational spectrum. So even starting with early childhood education through college and workforce, just making sure that we are focusing on those communities who otherwise would not have an opportunity to either be in school or have an opportunity to have access to high quality early childhood education. So our focus over the last 4 years really has been, one, how do we make sure that we are changing education to ensure that it's relevant in the 21st century? So whether that is making sure that we have we were one of the first states to include computer science in our standards of learning. That's significant, and now all students, regardless of where they are in the education spectrum, will have to take that and have a core understanding of computer science. We're also looking at cybersecurity. This is a governor who's been big on cybersecurity, so just making sure that we're incorporating that throughout.
Great. And how has the National Governors Association helped in your role?
Oh my gosh, I call the National Governors Association for everything. Whatever the issue is, I always say, call NGA. They will know somebody who's done this or handled this or has overcome this. So they've been, it's been huge. Whatever we've done, most recently, we've worked with, and we, like everybody else in the country, has this challenge of a teacher shortage, and so we work closely with them. One of the things that we did is we looked at our teacher shortage, and it's a crisis stage right now. But then when you look at the diversity within that workforce, it's even worse. And in Virginia, we found out that not only are we above the national average when it comes to the diversity of that workforce, but we're higher than all of our other southern states. So we talked to the National Governors Association. They came in, they provided us with some funding so that we could do some pilots, we formed a committee. Advice that they gave us, just guiding us through, helping us think through some of the different nuances in different areas and things that we may not, think about in Virginia, and just bringing that national perspective. Because once we're in our little bubble, once we're in our state, that's all we can see. But for them, and what's been so valuable to have them as a partner is because they do bring that national perspective, and they bring a bipartisan perspective. So they don't come to the table saying, here's what you should do. They come and they really do help you think through things in a way that makes sense for your particular community or your particular state.
And what advice would you have for education researchers to do their work in a way that can really support the policymaking process?
So most universities will have a government relations person or people that work directly with the governor's office or with the legislature. I would say to make sure you are you're talking to and engaging that individual, because that individual is the connection between that university and your research and the governor's office. And they would ask if they could get support for this or if they could get support for that. And ultimately what the congressional office would do, would call me and say, Dietra, I had so-and-so from your university call. Is this a priority for the university? So if I didn't know about it, I'd have to say, no, it's not a priority, because I didn't know about it. And we established our priorities based on what the president thought was most important at the time. So I would say that you definitely, that government relations person is critical to you getting any kind of support for any kind of political support, or if it's budget, they would be critical for that. So engage that person.
Well, thank you so much. It was great to talk with you.
Thank you.
Dietra Trent, Secretary of Education for the Commonwealth of Virginia, and we really appreciate your insights and knowledge that you shared with us today.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and to share.